I'm taking a little bit different approach today just because normally when I'm coming to your offices and I'm saying, you know, please fund this, please do this, I don't think some of you realize there is a method to my madness. And so today I want to share with you why I'm continually banging on your doors, calling on your phones, leaving messages, sending emails and everything. Because what's going on, as Jenny has showed you, as Ms. James has showed you, it's real, but there is actual medical stuff going on behind it that when I first saw it, like blew me away. So I want to share that with you today. We're mostly here because these are the numbers for Travis County. I think most people here who are in Travis County, you've seen this. I got this from Shannon Jones. He allowed me to use this, so thank you, Shannon. It's just dismal. It is a dismal looking graph that when we look at, you know, the United States, we look at Texas, we look at Travis County, everything's kind of riding around 5 until you look at African American women, and we're almost twice, we're more than twice the number. And it's just disheartening. And you keep saying, you know, what is going on? Why are we not doing better? Why are black women and babies dying? It just doesn't make sense. This is, you know, more of the data, and I'm going to kind of zip through that because I want to get to what kind of started me thinking about it. This guy is Robert Sapolsky. He is a neuroendocrinologist and neurobiologist out at Stanford. And way back when I was a new BPA in about 1994, I got a postcard, so yes, I am dating myself. This was before email invitations, saying, come hear this talk, why zebras don't get ulcers. And I thought, that is the most ridiculous name I've ever heard. But they were offering free lunch at the Monterey Cannery, so I went. And it was a fascinating talk. He is a very odd kind of guy, I will tell you, and he is kind of odd looking, but he is brilliant because when you listen to him, he says, you know, okay, why do zebras not get ulcers? Let's think about this for a minute. Zebras are running around the Serengeti in Africa, trotting along, and a lion comes out thinking, I need to eat. So one of two things are going to happen. Either the lion's going to catch the zebra and it's going to die, or the zebra's going to run, total flight or fight response, just full on out, because he knows if he doesn't get away from this thing, he's going to die. Eventually he outruns the lion, but he goes somewhere and the whole system resets, returns to homeostasis. The zebra takes a nap, he might get something to eat, have a little water at a stream, whatever, but his whole body goes back. What Dr. Sapolsky has found is that in humans we have the same response, except we tend not to go back to homeostasis. We don't stop. And in humans this will manifest as, okay, I woke up late, fight or flight. Then I'm running and I hit traffic on my path, more fight or flight. So it's just building. Then I get to work and I'm late and I miss the conference call, more. Then my boss is yelling at me because I missed said conference call, oh my God. And as the day goes on, there is never that return to homeostasis. There is never that I need to come down. Our bodies don't reset. By our bodies not resetting, we then are open to heart disease, diabetes, strokes, all of the things that we've been talking about. But what I didn't realize then, that I've now realized, it's also leading to preterm labors and preterm births in moms. It just, you know, this was one of those things I saw, I went to lunch, I listened to this guy, and I tucked it back, not really thinking about why, but kind of knew, this sounds important. This sounds like something I might need later. So I just kept his stuff in my head and said, okay, I'll keep it. So we fast forward now to about 2010, because this was about 94 when I first saw him. We're now at 2010, I'm here in Texas, and I've had my own children, and I had enough drama with that to fill the day, and started Mamas on Bed Rest. And so I went to the Coalition for Improving Maternity Services. They had their mother-friendly conference here in 2010. And I met this lady, and she is a hoot. If you've never met Dr. Kathleen Kendall Tackett, go and hear her talk just for the laughs alone. She's funny, she's witty and everything, but she is on target. Her area of specialty is trauma and women's health, which you think, how can women's health be traumatic? But for some of us, we know that it is. And she specializes in breastfeeding, depression, and health psychology. And what I found fascinating about her talk is she does this whole thing with psychoneuroimmunology, which I had never even heard heard of. I was like, what is that? And how maternal depression affects the lifetime health of women. I mean, she got my attention. What she started with was pro-inflammatory cytokines, which are these kind of neurotransmitters and things, are just being put out by the woman, and it rises in the last trimester. So I thought, well, that's not very good if she's going to be more risk. The woman's highest risk of depression is in the last trimester, and cytokines remain elevated into the postpartum. So I'm sitting there, you know, I'm dealing with mamas on bed rest. That's about as stressful as it gets. Any woman that I talk to, the minute I'm talking, she's like, oh my God, I'm on bed rest. Half the time I'm kind of holding the phone out because she's going at breakneck speed, or you're seeing it in the emails like, caps, you know, help me. What can I do? And I'm thinking, if this is what's going on with her, it's no wonder that, you know, she's having problems. But then Dr. Kendall Tackett went on to say depression and anxiety increase the risk of preterm birth. I'm like, oh crap, you know, what is that? I mean, all of my women are at risk for preterm birth. They're on bed rest because they usually experience an episode of preterm birth. If they have that whole cascade going on, we're chasing the 8 ball. We're never going to catch up. And then she drops this little truth bomb in the middle of her talk, and she says, well, we see increased cytokines, and these are the ones she listed, in stressed and depressed moms, and we know these ripen the cervix. Well, what's probably the most common thing I see in women on bed rest? Cervical insufficiency. They've got a cerclage, they're on bed rest. But they also increase in preeclampsia and infection. I'm like, that's like the next thing I'm seeing the most often. And then corticotropin releasing hormones trigger parturition. So my ladies who are already on bed rest, stressed out, stroked out, I don't have a job, my 12 weeks of family leave is over, I didn't even get paid for those 12 weeks, I don't know how I'm gonna make it. And this is what we're dealing with. And you know, nobody, I'm like, but how come nobody's talking about this? No, you know, I had never heard the connection. I had been a PA at that point since '92, and no one had ever talked about this. And I don't really know if she intended for it to come out in terms of, you know, the preterm labor thing. That's just how I heard it. She was talking about it in terms of breastfeeding and why it's so important that we get women to breastfeed, because breastfeeding lowers those cytokines in the postpartum and then will mitigate postpartum depression. I'm like, nobody told me that either. I mean, you know, I am a Duke-trained PA. We never talked about this. We never talked. They always said, well, you know, American Academy of Pediatrics recommends breastfeeding. That was it. You know, it wasn't, you know, the nutrition for the baby, and it certainly wasn't in reducing the risks and symptoms of postpartum depression. So I was just sitting there like, wow, we have to do something about this. This has to change, and that has actually changed how I interact with women when I'm talking to them, because when I hear them going into like, and then it's okay, let's talk about that. But, you know, we have to bring them down, because I know as they're talking to me, those cytokines are going up, and that cervix is just getting soft, and it's effacing, and it's shrinking. So, going along, and I'm sitting up late one night, because I usually work late. I have children, and you know, after you do the homework and you do this and that, but 1 o'clock in the morning, and I'm trolling around online, and I see this thing on natural causes, and I'm like, oh, okay, you know, hit play, hair goes aflame. I mean, I'm sitting there listening to these two neonatologists, Dr. James Collins, and I think his name is Richard David, talking about, you know, we just don't know why birth outcomes in Black women are so bad. You know, we thought it was this, we thought it was that. And it just came down to, they looked at it, and it's racism. And I'm just like, because whenever I had heard about it, it was poverty. You know, these women don't have enough money. They don't have, you know, access to birth, you know, prenatal care. We don't have this, we don't have that. And yet, the woman they highlighted in Unnatural Causes was an attorney, a very well-to-do attorney in Atlanta, who had had a preterm birth, tiny little baby, like 26 weeks or something. And, you know, she'd done everything right. She exercised, she ate well, she was wealthy, she had prenatal care, she had everything. But what also struck me was that was my story. My now 13-year-old was my preemie. who came at 36 and 6, who didn't breathe at first, who, it was a train wreck, but who went to the NICU. And I'm like, how can you be? Your dad's like an MIT physicist. I went to Tufts, I went to Duke, we did. I had so many prenatal cares. Dr. Swenson and I were Karen and Darlene. I mean, it just wasn't even doctor-patient. I was there all the time, and yet I still had a preterm, low birth weight baby, because she was 5'3". Now, in the NICU, she was a giant, and she had hair, and she opened her eyes, so everybody's like, what is the baby doing in here? But on the scheme of things, I don't have a large hand, and I held her in my hand. She was a tiny baby. And it just didn't make sense until watching that video and watching Dr. Lou say, well, there's just something about the milieu in America. It's not good for black men. I'm like, well, how can that be? And, he runs it out in his whole paper here, Closing the Black-White Gap. And we have to look at that. I mean, you just cannot ignore it, because when people want to say it's poverty, it's socioeconomic, I'm educated. My husband was educated. I mean, MIT, you can't get much tighter than that. I mean, this woman in the film, she was educated. She's an attorney. They had a home in suburban Atlanta, and yet it's happening. And what they also said in the film that I found even more a little alarming was the disparity widens in women who are actually more educated, which was like, so wait a minute. Not only are black women faring more poorly, those who are educated are faring even at a wider gap than uneducated black women. And a white woman who hasn't finished high school will have a comparable or even potentially better birth outcome than an educated black woman. And I'm like, really? Can this be? It was just mind-boggling. So, so many people look at me, because I don't always come out with, I'm a physician assistant and I don't know, or I just don't feel that that's necessarily necessary, but now I'm realizing maybe it is, because the reality is what I do when I go to a woman's home and I may do her laundry, or I'll prop her up in bed, or go grocery shopping, or take her to a doctor's appointment, seems like nothing, but in that time, I have all this other stuff rolling in my head, and I'll say, so, how are you sleeping? How's it going? Because if I come at her with stats, she's going to look at me like, what type of nerd are you? But if I'm asking her about what's going on in her life and what are her concerns, and she's worried about her job, we can work with that. But I can't come at her with the stats. I can't come at her with my agenda. And I do have one. But I can't give that to her then. We have to talk. We have to get her agenda addressed first, because once she's happy, then she'll listen to anything I have to say. But if I'm not listening to her, if I'm not getting her comfortable and making her feel like, she's the thing and I'm not just there for the buck, then, we're not going to get anywhere. So this has really informed how I interact with women and how I interact with black women, especially making sure they know of everything that is available to them. I'm at the perinatal coalitions, I'm at this coalition, that coalition, Dr. Mayan Kim's, IU Bridge. I'm running all over town because some people can't. Public transit here, I'm from Boston, I'm like, where's the T? Where's the train? I'm ready to take the train. I didn't have a car till I was like 25. I'm like, you drive everywhere? Really? It's hard for me to comprehend, but then I see people trying to go like 4 miles. I had to take 3 buses because they got to go this way, to go that way, to go the other way, and it's just insane. And it just makes for, like Jenny was saying, people give up. It's like you have a toddler, take them on the bus, that you got to wait, and you're pregnant and your feet hurt. And it's just crazy. Or you call one of these ride services and you have maybe 2 toddlers, but they only have 1 car seat, so you can only take 1 child. What are you supposed to do with your 4-year-old? You can't leave a 4-year-old home alone. These are the things that we're dealing with. These are the things I'm hearing women say to me, like, you have to call 72 hours in advance, but then your kid gets sick. You didn't know your kid was going to be sick 3 days before. You don't know, and then you try to reschedule it, and they don't want to reschedule it. It informs, but all of that, again, drives up mom's stress level. It's driving up what's going on and putting an increased strain and increased risk of her having a preterm labor and a preterm birth. So yes, I go around. Yes, I talk to women. Yes, I might clean a bathroom. It doesn't kill me. I don't care. I can swish. It's not a big deal. But the reason I do is because we have to lower those cytokine levels. We have to lower her stress level. I can't ignore the fact that she's having this and just make it all about what I want to do to her and tell her, blah, blah, blah. It's not going to work. And so it has dramatically changed how I interact with women, because I was at first coming at it as a PA. You need to kind of listen to me because I'm going to tell you what you need to do. It just doesn't work that way. And so I keep in mind what I know from the literature. I have whole lots of literature here, and it's great. But when I'm talking with a woman, it's got to be all about her. And that's why I always say it's all about mamas. I got people sell this baby toy, and so I'm not doing that because that's not going to benefit mom or the baby. We're not going to have healthy babies unless we have healthy mommies. And if we're not taking care of the moms, if we're not addressing their needs and problems with their partners, and I don't have housing, I can't figure out WIC. I mean, I went on that website and I was like, are you kidding? If we can't get moms stable, if we can't get moms comfortable and calm and not spewing out all these adrenal and neurotransmitters, we're just chasing the 8 ball. We're not going to get there. And we do have systems and policies that can work, and Amanda's going to talk about that soon, but that's all I have. Thank you.